We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Let me ask you something. If Bitcoin over the next, say, week through Thanksgiving went up like 2 or 3% every day, just grinding its way through 100, what would be the altcoin strategy that you would pursue? How would you look at the fact that, I don't know, some altcoins are up, some altcoins are way down, some memes hold like bonk, some memes corrected 70%. Well, the simple answer is in equities, it's called dispersion. Meaning we're now living in a world, probably until the Santa rally starts in December, where some things literally go up, and you want to pay attention to those things that go up when the market is down. That's the most important thing. In other words, what's next for the cycle? Whatever's up when the market's down. Okay. Or whatever has gone up a lot and then corrects and finds buyers. You remember that old saying? It's not a bull market until you can buy a dip and make money. Well, that's true in memes. Okay. And that's true in the big coins. We're going to go through some TA and some news. But you know what? At the end of the day, everybody wants to know what's going on with my coin. You want to see your coin perform better than the market or better than the coins that are down. You know, even if it's for like a day or two, we're looking for signs of life. All right, let's welcome who's here. We have Miklo, Alexandra, good morning. Mackenzie, when is this market going to turn around? So sick of the meme hysteria. Okay, well, that's a good point. We'll address it. Okay, Ian, Thomas, SG, the original guy on this stream. Welcome. Bro Sue, Andrew, Arendam, welcome. Do you believe base meme coins going to pump soon? Yes, I believe the next pump is base and Coinbase in general. Late start, yes, just a little bit. Justin, Miguel, Brandon, hello. Riyadh, Warmon, David, King Precious, welcome to the show. All right, let's kick into some news. All right, first of all, let's talk about the whole meme thing. So there's all this news about Solana and Phantom and how just this meme thing has kind of become its own monster. Just a reminder, you need speculative capital to come into the market, right, in order to have a sustained rally. Every rally starts with the junk, right? And it can get to a point where you get so sick of what's going on with the junk that you get discouraged about your position, whatever that is. It could be Arrow, it could be ICP, right? In other words, if you're invested in the tech part of altcoins or even Ethereum, I mean, you're looking at this going, God, this is hopeless. Frequently, and this has been said, people give up right before whatever they want or think or are working for turns around. Personal example, if you want to do like the fireside chat thing, because, we do that on this stream. We just kind of, have talks about the market, not just news and charts. It's hard to forget, for me, what I felt like the night before the election, right? A major prominent figure in crypto had just released something where it was like all coins are going to zero like 2018. And the market was down. It was like down like 4 or 5 days in a row. Excuse me. And it really looked like it was over. Like they were worried about who was going to win the election. And it looked like all coins were going into the abyss. And some people have heard this story before, but some people not. And I just sat there and I was like, wait a minute. If I'm experiencing this level of despair, if I feel like, oh my God, all is lost, it's probably the low. And it was. And you may wind up seeing something like that in Ethereum or in the coins that you're looking at. Unless the market is forcing you out from risk management point of view. In other words, you bought the top and it's down 50%, your stop's been triggered. That's one thing. That's risk management. Okay, but if you got something and you believe in it and it just hasn't moved yet, you're probably irritated and you're experiencing a negative effect of the meme coin greed cycle. In other words, all these people that are rushing into meme coins, they're not all making money. Some of them are, right? Probably the professional meme coin traders. They're the ones who are probably making the most money. And we have those in this group. We have those. But that's not everybody. And I know people are tired of it. They could be. And it's just kind of like Las Vegas, right? Everybody goes to Las Vegas thinking they're going to win. And everybody goes home hungover and broke. Now, that's not exactly what's going on in meme coins, but I would encourage you strongly, not encouraging you away from meme coins, but I am encouraging you to stick with Web3, to stick with Bitcoin, to stick with the reasons why we're doing crypto to begin with, which again has kind of been forgotten in the mania. We'll talk about that. Okay. The reasons why we're here. So Corey is here. Welcome. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Do you think MAGA could grow up again? All right. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I do think that particular movement is going to be moving into an area where they want intense forms of new economic growth. And yes, I can talk about MicroStrategy this morning, talking about Michael Saylor, talking about the Michael Saylor meme coin. It's there's a lot. And again, this stream may talk more about the fireside chat aspect. Okay, let's talk about government spending. I think everybody who was kind of into the negativity like this guy has to kind of switch his tone. So a guy in Argentina, the new leader out there, you know, he made some major changes. He unwound a lot of the socialist government. You know, he laid off a lot of people. He changed entitlements. It was very unpopular. But he stopped inflation in its tracks. He fixed the national debt. You know, now Argentina is looking at like 8% GDP growth. You know, if someone actually opened an economics textbook, you're not going to find anything about printing money and extreme debt being helpful. You're going to find that taking capital and having the government stop sucking that capital out of the market, right, for its own uses, right? That's called crowding out. In other words, when the government just like borrows all the money or takes all the capital and uses it for its own good, it takes capital away from the private sector. When you cut government spending and you possibly release money back into the private sector, magical things happen. It happened with Ronald Reagan to a certain degree. It's happening right now in Argentina. And I know they're going to want a repeat of this in the United States. Now, in the event that you're interested in these type of things, ironically, stuff is coming back from, and these guys were like, they were economists that I learned about, read their books. Okay, this is a guy named Milton Friedman who said, you know, inflation is first and foremost a monetary phenomenon, meaning when the government prints too much money, things get out of control. He also said inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. True, right? Again, printing money. And in this interview, Milton Friedman is basically saying, close the government, close any part of the government that doesn't have to do with protecting the people. In other words, the primary job of government is to protect the people. Okay? And if it doesn't have to do with protecting the people, police, fire, military, things like that, get rid of it. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, in fairness, I don't know how much they can cut government spending to make a difference because Social Security and Medicare take up huge components of the government budget. But they can cut something, they can send a message, and they can get capital going from government spending 2 tax cuts, which winds up in Coinbase, 1. And 2, they can start direct investment in Web3 because they need an explosive growth industry to grow out of $36 trillion in debt. And that's part of the reason why Bitcoin is moving the way it is. In other words, one thing I find very curious about the market, it's like BlackRock opens up Bitcoin options. Bitcoin makes a new high. Everybody, I think, has forgotten the reasons why this is happening. Like, completely forgot about it. Now, it's not to be down in the mouth. It's not to spoil the party. It's not to get you off bonk. It's not to do that. But if you remember why we're here, the current group of people that are coming into power, they're going to accelerate this. That results in monstrous economic opportunity. Now, another reminder about interest rates, okay? Target shares fall out of bed, okay? So they cut their profit outlook, but they said, the holiday season is off to a strong start. Okay, I'm glad to hear that, but the Fed does need to cut rates. Okay, you do have an improvement in sentiment generally because of the election, but make no mistake about what kind of shape the consumer is in. So you have cuts in government spending, lower rates, very positive for crypto. Very. Just remember why we're here. It will help you, especially, especially when you look at the market and you're like, oh God, what's going on here? Now, this insanity, right? This is what's going on overseas. And there is a very important point to be made here. It's hard to tell what is political theater. In other words, what is, like war before peace for optics sake. In other words, like intensify the fight so there'll be this huge excuse to come in and make peace right away versus, some kind of escalation that's just bizarre. The market is effectively rallying in the face of whatever this headline is. And as a reminder, it's worth reminding you that, if you traded or sold off this stuff over the last 8 months, you wound up missing out and getting stopped out and selling at the low. But, this kind of stuff with embassies being closed is serious. Other leaders are warning that, if they threaten the capital of this big Eastern European country, that, they won't hesitate. My argument is, and I've said this, the Russians are not stupid. If they thought there was a legitimate risk to their people, they would have acted already. So these news headlines can come out, but at the end of the day, they create hesitation. And hesitation can lead to mistakes. So can denial about what's happening, right? In other words, what is happening is you're completely revaluing the crypto ecosystem for mass adoption, mass investment, and the government like literally goosing the market to create Web3. Okay, ETH versus Bitcoin drops to a fresh low. One of the things about markets just in general is that consensus views or older thinking is challenged, right? Like ETH was the cornerstone of the last cycle, right? Just for history's sake, talk at the last cycle was that ETH was eventually going to flip Bitcoin, that Bitcoin was nothing more than a digital doorstop, and that if ETH had all this functionality for the future. And now ETH has been abandoned. It's probably now back at the point where you can't even talk about it. I mean, seriously, we'll try to go over some charts, right? But, who is going to sell people Ethereum, especially when Cardano has turned around and become like a meme coin for Web3 or a meme coin for, what Charles Hoskins is going to do on Joe Rogan, or Cardano might actually evolve to something with the help of the U.S. government because he's in charge of advising people about crypto. right? I mean, he's going to want, say, I don't know, healthcare records or something running on his platform. And as I've said, can you talk about Ethereum? Now, on the flip side, that may mean it's really time to think about Ethereum because you have been paid in this market to buy things when it was total despair. Now, one of the areas where total despair, definitely took hold was Arrow. Does anybody remember that? I know y'all remember Arrow. Everyone is in this group, right? Arrow went down to I don't know what, 40 cents before coming back to $1.40 and then coming off. Point being, yes, there are things about this cycle that are bizarre. There are things about this cycle that even make the people who are bullish go, oh my God, what's happening here? Okay. Don't give up on narratives just because the market is trying to push you out. I mean, if Ethereum was the only thing you owned, you need to think about that. But don't get pushed out for the sake of getting pushed out. Okay, so the Orange Man is going to give credentials to podcasters, YouTubers, and social media influencers in the White House press room. Once again, evidence that the world may be changing. The world is changing. And these guys are going to do things differently. And everyone thinks that they're kidding, and they're not. They're not. Right? And Bitcoin is telling you that. What is the message of Bitcoin? These dudes are not going to stop. They're going to press this advantage, and they have figured out that their popularity is correlated with the price of crypto and Bitcoin. Solana looks to outperform Bitcoin as Solana DEXs register $41 billion in trading volume. Now, the funny thing about Solana is, ironically, Solana should be higher. It's also a reminder that trading on Solana is not actually free. I'm not totally sure how it works, but validators get Solana somehow, and they're the ones who sell Solana to help make your trading free. Nothing is free, right? But Solana should be much higher. In other words, if there was ever a day where layer ones turned around and took off, Solana could be breathtaking. Okay. Rumble's, and this is the Michael Saylor phenomenon now. Rumble stock goes up as CEO teases Bitcoin adoption, right? Orange Man said crypto lawyer Teresa Goody to lead SEC. So I think the administration is now figuring out that who the Treasury Secretary is and who runs the SEC could move the market, right? Could move the market. And they probably want the most crypto-friendly people they can get. Because again, their popularity and Bitcoin is correlated. Just keep this thing moving. Keep it moving. Keep Web3 going. And if that means they have to keep the meme thing going, that means they keep the meme thing going as a secondary byproduct. I mean, seriously. El Salvador tokenizing U.S. Treasury offerings. One thing that people are not sort of seeing with the fact that OHM has spiked is the fact that people are tokenizing treasuries to borrow it to buy more crypto. In other words, security tokens or real-world assets, the first application is to take treasury debt, borrow against it, and buy Bitcoin or buy whatever. Right? That's been happening, and that's why OHM has exploded. Okay, Bitcoin makes new all-time high, above 94,000 as ETF options go live. I understand Grayscale has options going live today. We covered this yesterday, but, I'm not going to go into the deep details of options. But when somebody buys what's called a call option, which makes all the sense in the world in Bitcoin, it's an upside bet with very defined risk. The catch is you have to get the timing right. Well, we know where Bitcoin is going probably over the next 3 months. So in that way, it's sort of easy, right? Defined risk, upside, and the timing is the question. But somebody makes those upside bets, it puts buying pressure into the market. Now, as you go in, you buy this derivative instrument, and with the way the process works with the market makers, somebody comes in and buys Bitcoin. So somebody who's afraid they're going to miss out, corporations, treasuries, mutual funds, hedge funds, right? They're like, oh, what do we do? Do we buy Bitcoin at 94K? Can we even buy Bitcoin? Oh, wait, we can do stocks and we can do options on stocks. Oh, well, great. Just go in and buy a whole bunch of call options in Bitcoin. There, that way, if we're right, we make money. But if we're wrong, the risk is defined to just what we paid for this bet. You're looking at it and go, wow, that's too good to be true. I mean, normally it's very tricky to get the timing right, but in this particular case, the timing is like, duh. Right. And as this accelerates, right, if this thing just continues to take off, Michael Saylor bull posts it through 100, through 105. This could get ridiculous. I mean, it could. Now, I don't know if it's going to be slow or if it's going to be quick, but I will tell you this, and I've said this before. Crypto has a very strong history of just doing wild things around American holidays or Western holidays, like religious holidays like Easter and Christmas, or things like Memorial Day or Labor Day or July 4th, where Americans, barbecue, eat too much turkey, watch TV, these type of things, gather around, kind of like slow down their lives. You sit down on the couch to watch TV and boom, crypto's up 25%. I can't remember how many, I can't tell you how many times during these holiday things where I'm like rushing to see what's going on in the market because, there's been like a 20% move. They could do this again on Thanksgiving. They could do something insane because everyone's not paying attention and liquidity is thin. And I don't know, for whatever reason, they just like to do it. So, hang on to your hats because Bitcoin could get crazy. And once Bitcoin gets done crazy, I'm thinking at 105, the whole rest of the market ignites. And the whole rest of the market ignites means like a, Web3, boring stuff, ICP, Polkadot, Maker, all this stuff that's going to be the future as every corporation has to FOMO into the market to some degree. Okay, Michael Saylor is now the official Bitcoin ambassador, meeting with Microsoft to discuss getting involved in Bitcoin. Okay, that's a little crazy, but that's Beeple about the all-time high. And you get the point. Right? People are getting excited, and there's really no way to get in front of Bitcoin. I don't know how this wound up in here 3 times. My bad. Okay. Saylor explains in his own words why you simply can't value MicroStrategy based on the Bitcoin that it holds. And as I've said, maybe we'll take a look at the crypto mining stocks in the live TA session. You can't get that much Bitcoin. The only way to get that much Bitcoin is to take over the company. Right? There's a huge liquidity premium in Bitcoin. Again, the president of Argentina in a 2-hour interview, right, with Lex Friedman explained how he slashed 3,000 regulations in 6 months. Again, you free up capital. It goes to the private sector. The private sector innovates. One way the private sector is innovating here is by mooning certain crypto projects, allowing those crypto projects most likely to flourish. Phantom, when you should be ecstatic because you can get in on all the trending tokens just because you're a chill guy. Okay, there's pretty much no limit to what they can do in memes, and there's probably no limit to the speculation until the meme coin corrects 70% in your face. Remember, meme coins are a trading game. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's end it off. Let's end it off there. Let me see what this article says. Okay, King Dollar. We're going to look at the dollar. The dollar has actually been rising and has now reached the top end of its range. It's actually very important. That goes back to the reason why we're here. All right. Let's see who else is here. We have Katya. Good morning. VA Buds, Justin Hill. Okay. The knowledge is insane. Well, I appreciate that. Warmon, thank you. Trying to keep everybody in the game here. Let's keep everybody in the game. All right, let's go to live TA. Sometimes on the stream, sometimes we do this like hardcore news, like, blast, with all kinds of charts. Sometimes we just chill and talk about stuff. Because that's necessary sometimes for perspective. Okay, micro strategy. Here we go. Oh, wait, let's go back to this weekly chart. Wait a minute. Okay, so this is MicroStrategy Weekly. And these type of formations are everywhere. So, I use a chart system like Lux Algo, kind of like the only sponsor that I have personally. It's a very small deal, but I can just tell you right now that, even if I wasn't getting it for free, honestly, I would pay for it. So everywhere, Lux Algo has like a formation drawing system. And, I might have thought to draw some of this stuff, but probably not. And everywhere in the market, and I have a couple charts in the deck, they're drawing these like, they're either, this is like an expanding cone, triangles, wedges where the market kind of slopes downward. And every time the market breaks out on one of these things, it's just insane, right? This is called an accumulation cone. We may have talked about this yesterday, invented by some guy named Jesse Livermore. I mean, this is MicroStrategy. I mean, what's going to stop this stuff? Like, that's the key thing. With Bitcoin moving to 105, how wild can it get? Well, let me tell you. Let's look at the chart and let's think about it. Do you realize that at some point last year, there was an NVIDIA earnings release? And on the day of that release, NVIDIA, gapped up. So earnings releases are after the close. And then, they get released. And then, of course, the stock can dramatically open higher or lower depending on the earnings result. Well, of course, with NVIDIA, they're always like blowing away their numbers. And there was a day where the move between the close of the day before the earnings and the close the next day after the earnings, the market cap expansion in NVIDIA in 24 hours was bigger than the market cap of Ethereum. So they added $300 billion in market cap to NVIDIA in 6 hours, 8 hours. Now, if you start thinking about things like that, like that's what's capable in equities. What are they capable of doing to things like MicroStrategy? What are they capable of doing in general, right? Like, Marathon Digital. These guys are thinking about borrowing money, right, to buy Bitcoin. What has this stock done? Nothing, right? It's a miner that they don't really like that much. And all these hedge funds at the beginning of the year were short things like Marathon Digital. And you can see that there's a Lux Algo buy signal for this week. In other words, this hasn't even started yet. It hasn't even started yet. Okay, this is hut mining, like an AI play. So miners are using AI to figure out how to efficiently use energy. Okay, and if you look at the chart, right, see, here's the breakout from this wedge phase. It breaks out and it just goes. You've seen this everywhere. And then if you look at like a 3-day chart of this, and a lot of the market looks like this, like, what has this actually done? I was like, oh my God, I missed everything. Bro, what have you missed? You have missed absolutely nothing. Nothing. Like, when you have Bitcoin miners, right, maybe Bitcoin miners as a sector has to be completely revalued. Because again, if you have Bitcoin at 125K and every marginal buyer of Bitcoin just drives up the price because there's no sellers. I have 2 viral shorts. Like my personal social media thing was literally made by a short video called There Is No More Bitcoin. This is like, 6-9 months ago. There is no more Bitcoin. There really isn't any more Bitcoin. Like if you wanted to come in and buy huge amounts of Bitcoin, you'd have to take over one of these companies. And that's not reflected. I mean, look at this thing. Went straight down. This is 2021, right? It's like, oh, yeah, Bitcoin, crypto is no good. Boom. Speed, magnitude, and direction. What goes down a certain way can go right back a certain way. So if that's what HUD 8 mining can do, what can crypto do? People are like, oh, I'm giving up on my positions. I'm depressed. Dude, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Coinbase on a daily chart. I don't know. Let's look at a daily chart, Coinbase, right? Like, really? Like, what's happened here? Has something happened? Does this look like something has happened? Not really, man. You got the entire planet flooding into Coinbase. Let's do weekly. You got the entire planet FOMOing into Coinbase. Coinbase's like the high of the last cycle is at 368. It's currently at 333. And this Lux Algo trend line, which these markets tend to attack, you see how this is like one of these V formations? It's just a different version where they draw these trend lines where the market can just like reach for it. Thing can go to 400. I mean, Bitcoin's at an all-time high, and no one's particularly interested. No one's interested. Galaxy Digital is actually down today. It's down. It's the hedge fund. It's the big hedge fund run by Mike Novogratz. There's like this blocky thing, this range that it broke out of. No one's interested. Now, we're going to talk about this Bitcoin ETF. I got charts in the PowerPoint. Folks, you got to listen to me about this. You could have 54 or 58 based on this chart. You could also have 75. It's currently trading at 53.50, and this is a big level. The amount of FOMO, it used to be people could FOMO into spot Bitcoin. People could FOMO into perpetuals. People could FOMO into Bitcoin futures. Now they can FOMO into this ETF. And this is just not going to stop, right? Because if you look at regular stocks, they're like dead, right? It's obviously a 5-wave top in the S&P, and it just sort of slumps here. All these big new highs have not been confirmed by new highs here, blah, 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 blah. The case for Bitcoin is obvious. And that means the case for crypto is obvious. But of course, navigating it when it's obvious is difficult. Obvious does not mean easy. Matter of fact, sometimes obvious means hard, particularly if it's going to be a sustained bull market. In other words, what do bull markets do? They force you out with crashes like in in August. They bore you out. They frustrate you. Your coin's not going up. And the next thing you know, you're selling and rage quitting, and then the whole thing just goes. They're doing it to you right now. Whatever you're feeling, everyone else is feeling. Right? We'll go through all the charts that we can. Okay. DXY on a daily basis. We had this big patriotic rise in the dollar. We have this expectations of higher interest rates, higher inflation, stronger economic growth. So the dollar goes straight up. The dollar is now at its range high. I would prefer to see the dollar turn around and start going down. When you owe $36 trillion and you're talking about getting rid of income tax, the only way out of a debt crisis is to devalue the currency. I suspect in 2025, part of the reason why you're seeing up only in Bitcoin is people anticipate a problem with fiat currencies. Okay, Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Like there's Tom DeMark has a bottom and top hunting methodology, right? Ethereum versus Bitcoin, like there's no hint of a bottom until next week, right? Just like in Bitcoin, there's no hint of a top or even resistance until 105. So, they could blow off this week. They could blow off next week. Blow off means rapidly accelerate in an emotional fashion. Or this thing could just keep grinding. It's like, oh, I'm afraid of 100. I'm afraid of 100. I'm afraid of 100. Oh my God, I'm not afraid of 100. Oh my God, Michael Saylor's paying 105. Oh my God. That's what could happen here. And if that happens, like, I don't know, where's Cardano? Where's Bonk? Where's DGen? Where's this whole market? Again, total insanity could ensue. Okay, Bitcoin ETF, let's talk about it. 5388 is a key point using Fibonacci work that you use when a market is doing price discovery and extending to try to find where, you might find the next resistance. So if the Bitcoin ETF takes out 5388, the next stop is 73. And the guys in the options market, they know this. So the second you got to break out, they're going to come after these call options. They're going to come after these upside bets. In equities, I had a boss at Goldman. People have heard this before. Buy breakouts, right? They love buying it when it's breaking out. They love that. And people in crypto should love it too. I mean, if it's a meme coin and it starts accelerating, people have no problems FOMOing in. But if it's like Cardano, people are like, oh, well, it's, or Hedera or Algorand or XRP. Oh, it's up 25%. I don't want that. Well, you may not want it when it's up 25%, but you may want it on the next dip. And we have charts and we'll talk about that. If you get these coins that just indiscriminately moon, it's kind of like fits in with this like educational fireside chat format that we occasionally go with here. So Bitcoin, you look at Lux Algo, 99.7 is a possible destination. All the sell signals, all the warning signals, they're just being ignored. And this thing just keeps grinding, right? Because there's no seller. There's no seller. And then you could take that throughout the rest of the market. Who's the seller in XRP again? Who's the seller in Cardano? Like, where's the supply that's going to come in and meet $7 billion a week or whatever it is that's flooding into crypto hedge funds? Where's the supply that's going to meet that? There isn't any. And that, frankly, that includes the whole ecosystem. Like, Ethereum is another example. It's just being dumped and dumped and dumped and dumped. Well, when it turns around, who's going to sell? Because someone's absorbing it. It's probably BlackRock as it goes down. So again, if you have Solana become a mobile phone company in March, when that phone comes out and you have a Solana or an XRP ETF, all the supply in Solana is going to get absorbed by that ETF. Then you got people FOMOing into pump.fun at the same time. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. Okay, now I can't underscore this enough. I maybe I'm over-discussing this, but I don't think so. The U.S. government has figured out that they need Web3. The Orange Man himself is buying a crypto trading company. So these guys are going to not keep their promises about crypto. Matter of fact, they're not going to turn it into a flat out massive industry. They're not going to call Coinbase and say, if we funneled money to you, like if we closed the department of blank, but then we wanted to build Web3, like the guy who builds casinos and giant opulent buildings in New York City says, we want to build Web3. How could you help us do that? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but having Coinbase run a non-governmental organization where government funding comes in and these guys basically dole it out to help build Web3. What do you think that means for Coinbase? Base coins. I mean, people are looking at this and they're like, they just don't understand it. And I'm not going to get off Web3. I'm not. Because again, all this stuff that they built in 2021, like build it and they will come. Well, it didn't come and all that stuff crashed. It never went up. And everybody went to meme coins because it's way more fun and it's way easier to understand. But that doesn't mean they're not going to just build. I mean, Elon ignited the whole rally by saying you Americans are now free to build. Okay, we may have discussed this yesterday. This is Algorand. What does Algorand do? I don't know, but you better figure it out quick because there's 4 projects that are like basically made in America. They're talking about getting rid of transaction tax on this. And can you imagine what the business development group at these companies, these projects are doing at the moment? They're probably taking massive incoming phone calls. They're probably talking to the government, and they're probably calling everybody that they've ever talked about doing anything with in terms of a partnership, some sort of arrangement, some sort of like joint venture. Oh my God, they must be calling everybody. I mean, guys must, it's like, I don't know. They must need like 3 or 4 hands, 2 phones, text, email. Can you imagine? I mean, what's happening? Like what's happening inside the Cardano universe or inside all of the Cardano projects? Like I used to work for a crypto project. I mean, it's like mind-boggling. Like the reason prices maybe haven't moved is because this is so shocking. People are like, oh my God, what do we do? It's just like tidal wave of positive sentiment and money is coming after 7 years of hostility. Like people are just like, they don't know what to do. And the meme coin thing is like, that's creating additional shock and awe and possibly an IQ drop. Like literally everyone is sitting there looking at their screen like this. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. It's like, oh, well, it's really hard to, ignore this huge man belting into a microphone. Like, look at this ICP. Don't you remember? Don't you remember BitBoy? Don't you remember him screaming about ICP, XRP, all this stuff? AJ writes crypto. AJ, like a protege of his that went on his own, is all over Algorand. That has done nothing. Maker. Okay, so you're going to have a massive revolution in DeFi. Most likely the projects like Maker and Uniswap will probably capture more value than ETH. It's just kind of the way it is. What's Maker done? Absolutely nothing. Now, that's good and bad. It's good that you can, potentially get in if you have capital, right? To the extent that retail understands this, which they don't. But it's also an example of everyone's like, oh my God, I'm late. Oh my God, I missed it. Dude, you have missed nothing. This trade is not even understood yet. Even if this never goes up, somewhere in here, there is a monstrous infrastructure building trade that's going to happen. Now, bonk. Okay, so retail's involved. You get topping signals on 4-hour charts. They last about a day. Right, you get a topping signal here. It has a square range. It gets to a blow-off top target. It gets there and doesn't do anything. So, hedge funds buy the dip in bonk. Retail buys the dip in bonk. And this thing just sort of continues, right, until, I don't know, Doge gets to a certain level. But again, when you have massive market cap expansion, Doge is $60 billion coin. So, I mean, in meme coins, everyone's like, well, it's at 20 million. It's at 25 million. It's at 50 million. It's at 100 million. Oh my God, it's at 500 million. Okay. Right. I mean, that's the game. That's how that's played. But what I'm saying is, can we move that game in the billions to the $1 billion coin? There's the $10 billion coins, the $25 billion coins. And can the 10s go to 25? Can the 25s go to 50? Can the 50s go to 100? And can the 100s flip Ethereum? These are the questions you should be asking yourself now and maybe trying to add portfolio exposure based on that. Okay, this is a little bit of an educational thing. So I had Clover Finance as a part of the Polkadot universe because I'm always doing buckets and, that's kind of how I do like my thing. So what did Clover Finance do? Well, I don't know. You just woke up, Like when Polkadot woke up a little bit, Clover Finance exploded. Then it comes back down again because bag holders sell. So, throughout the whole crypto universe is all this stuff that went way up and it's gone way back down again, sitting there doing nothing. So the market goes up and everyone goes, okay, well, I'm going to sell. And then someone comes in and buys a dip. It's not a bull market until you can buy a dip and make money. Well, guess what? These things that moon and come back down, they're finding buyers. Another one is Secret. They have something called Silent Swap, cross-chain privacy, right? When ETH wakes up and you have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and etc., you're going to need cross-chain activities, all kinds of stuff like that, right? Secret, down, and then someone buys the dip. This is an example of what happens in things like Ohm, right? You have your accumulation cone and boom. Just absolutely wild. Cardano, the top of the accumulation cone is $1 on the weekly chart and it hasn't gotten there yet. You imagine what happens if Cardano just like sits here and then blows through $1? Like the BitBoy high was $3, right? The BitBoy high was $3. $3. Okay, now meme coins. So meme coins, MicroStrategy has a meme coin. MSTR 2100. It's trying to imitate SPX 6900. Notice it has done nothing. You got all this Michael Saylor hype, but no one bought the meme coin. Now it's ETH based, but it is down 70%. So meme coins are interesting to me, either when they go down 40% or they go down 70%. It will be interesting to see if this holds. Not advocating doing this. The market cap's at 25 million. I told people not to do this on the way up, and it turned out to be right because it turned around and vaporized with Michael Saylor all over the tape, with Bitcoin headed through 100. But if you're in a meme coin and you see a 40% drop and it holds, that's constructive. You see a 70% drop and it holds. This will be like, get your popcorn out. Let's see if it works, right? Okay, Ski, right? The new dog meme coin. Okay, you've had 40% drops. This was a 40% drop, and who knows, it could turn into a 70% drop. So you could wipe out all this FOMO and still be down here at 0.014 and still be good, right? With these meme coins, it's not, it's like, this is what happened in SPX 6900, right? You had three 40% dips, a 70% dip, and then it took off, right? I mean, meme coins, make no mistake, they're traded by computers. Right. These patterns can't be repeating themselves just automatically. Like here's A16Z, right? AI16Z, some sort of like AI meme coin, AI agent, mysterious entity, traded at $500 million. And then it went down to like $200 million in like 2 days. And if you bought the first dip, you got hosed. This was a 75% decline before it recovered, and here's the 62% retracement. Again, not trying to sell anybody. Is not investment advice. Don't do these meme coins. I am not the meme coin guy, but this is how you trade these things. Because if this is really good and AI agent coins are going to be a thing, then you want to grab it when they wipe everybody out. Or you just want to be in here and take your profits when it's up here and go to the next thing. Like there is no hodling meme coins there. I mean, unless you're talking about Doge or Bonk or, and those hodlers are selling to people up here. Like, don't doubt that there can't be a massive meme coin blow off top over Thanksgiving. It's possible. But the second you have a downdraft in the market, this is what can happen to non-huge, smaller meme coins. Like the market goes down 10%, but everything goes up, 40, 50, everything will go down 10%, and then meme coins will correct 70%. Right. And you have to keep this in mind because the last thing you ever want to do is get wrecked right before a monster bull market starts. Okay, so chart requests coming in. Okay, so Dario is asking, where I would park my money. I cannot hand out investment advice, but I can tell you some things. If you just got here, you got to start with the basics. I know no one wants to hear that, but if you have things like, your Bitcoins or your Solanas or things like that, you start learning how the market moves. And then there are the coins that, this group's famous for, like, your arrows, maybe even Brett, if you want to do a meme coin, right? Stick with the base ecosystem because I don't think the base ecosystem has had a move yet. Okay, so this is the artificial super intelligence token fetch or FET. Really frustrating. Hard to tell if this type of a coin is better than the AI agent meme coins. But what I do know is you broke out, you came back down, you're sitting on top of an equilibrium zone and atop of one of these cones, and I don't see a reason to give up. Even though you want to give up because it's like, I'm done. I'm so frustrated. And again, this reminds me of what happened last year at the top. Everyone lost their mind. Everyone thought they missed it. And you could be having the reverse psychology at a major bottom. In other words, the inverse of last year was everyone FOMOing in, figuring, oh my God, I missed it. And this is everyone looking at meme coins and giving up and going, okay, well, I missed it. And, this is not going to happen. And I got to free up capital and go chase this other stuff. Trust me, bull markets will do this to you. They will get you talked out of trades. Now, that doesn't mean you have to know why you're in it. It has to have an upside catalyst. I'm not saying stay with stuff for the sake of staying with stuff, right? You got to understand why you got into it. You got to ask yourself if all that's still true, but you can't get out of stuff just because it's not moving. And it's the same thing on the upside. If something's moving, don't take profits for the sake of taking profits. If your P&L is breathtaking to you, take the money. If you got bills to pay, take the money. But don't get off certain trains just for the sake of getting off. And I think that's what just happened in XRP. I mean, XRP has like a key level at like $1.17. Right. So, I mean, what's going to stop XRP? I don't even know what stops XRP at this point. You heard all about the case for XRP, up, down, center, left, right. I mean, I've heard all about it. I got a short on my channel. This thing was at 5,000 2 days ago. Now this thing is at I don't know. It's at like 11,000, articulating the new value proposition for XRP. And no one is paying attention. Nobody. I'm serious. I'm convinced of that. People are looking at this and like, oh, that's nice. Oh, good for the XRP army. No, people. Good for all of us. I mean, look at this. This is a 4-hour XRP chart. Up, sideways, square. I used to chart, like I learned crypto by drawing it by hand, by making bar charts on graph paper. It's like William Gann stuff. When you see this is what Ethereum used to do when it was going to go up a lot. Would just sit in these like square sideways ranges. There is no sign of a top in XRP. If anything, there's a sign that there could be 8 more up days. Like, just in theory, in XRP, this could be the 3rd of 9 up weeks before you would expect a pause. Monthly. You could have 5 more up months. So if you're above $1 on Thanksgiving, this is going to be an up month. Your correction was last month, and you could have, again, 5 more up months in XRP, just based on, just how this sort of, system works where we count bars and measure trends. Is a lot of math involved with this. But when you say to yourself, yeah, 5 more up months. 5 more up months. Like, I'm not getting off this train. I mean, I personally, I paid $1. I wasn't involved and I looked at this and they dipped it. I'm like, oh, you know what? I got to get involved in this. Everyone's like, what's the next Bitcoin? What happens if it's XRP? Okay, Pepe hit resistance and came off. We can go to Lux Algo on Pepe. I mean, in some ways, I'm running out of words when it comes to these like super big meme coins. You know, Pepe can probably go up another 40% if you follow this thing where it takes out and attacks these big upward sloping trend lines that Lux Algo draws. You know, I think the thing with Pepe that you need to think about is you need to find, you know, where these type of accumulation formations are. Head and shoulders bottoms, you know, whatever these like, you know, when something's in a range, and I said this before this market like went ballistic, you got paid to find head and shoulders bottom, teacup and handle, triangles, downward sloping wedges, all this boomer TA stuff. You got paid to get involved before it moved, when it was inside the formation or just breaking out of the formation, like I showed you in O. Right. In other words, you know, you see these type of things. If you see them in your coins, then, you know, you basically got to pile in. You just have to, right? Is Ethereum risky for leverage back in case BTC falls below 90? Okay. What narratives are you most interested in? Cross-chain and real-world assets. The announcements that are coming in there are just going to blow your mind. Like BlackRock, Goldman, Van Eck, Franklin Templeton. They're going to be on the tape every single day making announcements. Yeah, I mean, they're all I mean, some of these companies have had this, they've been building all along. But then they're going to start racing each other to see who can get involved, which is why these real world asset plays can just go completely, they can go insane. Like it's like the market has to be completely repriced. That's the term I'm using. Right? Like, oh, the big guys are coming. Oh, you know, TradFi is coming to crypto. People, you have no idea how much money is involved if TradFi comes to crypto. This is a little teeny weeny market. It's a teeny weeny market. Okay, so Moonwell, a lot of people probably FOMO'd in. Okay, because this was one of the things that took off originally. So again, another form of discouragement. So if you look at a 4-hour chart, it's actually gone all the way down to its Lux Algo discount zone where it's cheap in sort of TA terms. It's got a bottom of one of these wedges like just below 5 cents. And with all these corrections, you know, you're always asking yourself, where's the 62% retracement? That's at 0.06. Now, what Moonwell is probably doing is running stops, pushing everybody out, and then you have to watch for the reclaim. A lot of people took profits in this, you know, all the way up, all the way back down. I don't know why anybody would give up on stuff like this. This is like, you know, up here, it was going up forever, and down here, everyone's packing it in. If you bought the top and you have to stop out, then, you know, just manage risk. But what this thing looks like it's doing is it's forcing people out, and then it turns around and just comes right back in. Right? You want to manage risk, but you don't want to quit. Is Ethereum risky for leverage back in case Bitcoin falls below 90? Okay, look, you know who does leverage trading or should do leverage trading is guys like Brian, who knows what's going on. Right? Guys with like massive experience, right? If you're in this and you're like, okay, you know, I need to do something huge. Now, if you did wanted to do a small leverage position in Ethereum, if there is a final like ETH BTC puke, yeah, that might be the time to use leverage when it's like down and everyone's given up. But you never want to do anything where you like wind up losing trading capital. Like the biggest trap in this market right now is that you do something stupid. Then the whole thing just turns around and you just lost a whole bunch of money. Or something happens and you miss it and you get discouraged, your head gets messed up and you can't see things clearly, which is the value proposition of this show. Warmon notes that true finance is a real world asset play. True finance, checks, Clearport. There's really not that many. There's not that many. We're looking at a farming play, DMTR, like crazy stuff. Small cap RWA plays. You don't know. Like BlackRock has told you, we're not building anything. We're finding quality projects and we're investing in those projects. Period. Like BlackRock has said that. And this goes back to things I learned at conferences. The Bank of New York, a huge custody firm, had young kids running around talking to projects like Polkadot, trying to take notes on what the projects do and going back to Bank of New York and explaining this to bankers in suits. That was in April. Of course, that was after a 3-month up move. But I mean, what do you think's happening now? Like Wall Street is like huddled. I can just like feel it. They're like huddled in a room going, oh my God, what is happening here? Oh my God, this is like the internet. Oh my God, this is like AI. We're sitting here and this is all about to happen. Do we own it? No. Okay. How do we get involved? That's what people are figuring out right now. This is what you should be figuring out right now. And we got to get it figured out before they get it figured out. Because when they get it figured out, you're going to have price action like you have in Bonk and Pepe in the whole rest of the market in like the ICPs or the makers of the world or stuff that no one would even think or touch. Is too embarrassing to talk about, including ETH. Okay, people. That's it for today's fireside chat style. You want to subscribe to the channel. You want to hit the like button on the way out. If this works for you, comment down below. If it doesn't work for you, comment down below. We will see you tomorrow.